I think we can all agree that things are getting a lot more expensive. We're seeing prices rise all across the board, and with the new tariffs that Trump is putting in place, I think it's pretty safe to say that there's a lot of uncertainty right now. And something that I've found super interesting is that 1 in 5 Americans have reported that they're actually buying more than usual. And this is pointing to something that a lot of people call doom spending. So there's obviously a lot of economic uncertainty right now. And let me be clear, I am by no means a finance or an economic expert at all, but I am somebody who likes to use this channel to promote and share as much mindful, intentional shopping advice as I can. So this video is really for a bunch of different types of people. It's for anybody who feels like they've been working on healthier, more intentional shopping habits, but they're kind of seeing that progress slip a little bit. It's for people who are maybe using shopping as a way to feel a little bit more in control, or for anybody who's just finding themselves spending more as a way to cope with uncertainty. And honestly, it's just for anybody who feels any type of financial weight right now. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about what exactly doom spending is, why it's happening, and more importantly, I'm just going to be giving you some tips on how to avoid it or how to stop it if you feel like you're towing the line. Now, there is something that I want to say before we actually get into it, and I know that this won't be applicable to everybody, but I do want to say that it is perfectly okay to mourn the freedom that you might have once had when it comes to spending. Economic shifts affect many of us super, super deeply, and I think it's completely valid and understandable to feel the loss of ease that you might have once had. So my hope with this video is to give you some information and some advice on how to reshape your spending habits for the long term, and not in a way that's either going to put you in debt or make you overspend just to make yourself feel better in the short term. So let's first answer the question, what exactly is doom spending? So doom spending at its core is a reaction. It's a reaction to things like stress or fear or a sense of instability, especially when it comes to uncertainty about the future. Doom spending is not about buying things that you actually need or buying things that you actually use. It's about spending in order to feel better and to feel more in control, especially when there's so much happening in life, whether that's as a societal collective or just your individual circumstances. And you may have never heard of the term doom spending before this video, but it is something that people have talked about for quite a few years at this point, especially now that we are talking more and more about conscious consumerism, and of course the growing awareness of why we actually shop the way that we do. You might have actually felt this during the pandemic. I know I definitely did. I was ordering way too much stuff during the pandemic, that was kind of before I got into conscious consumerism. But I mean, I found myself, and maybe you did too, just ordering a bunch of stuff that I felt like was going to make me feel better, just in a way to have some type of control over my life. But in reality, it didn't do me any good. It didn't do my wallet any good, especially in a very financially uncertain type of time that the pandemic was. So, it might be a new term, but it's something that most of us are probably relatively familiar with. So now I want to talk about why people actually doom spend. And I've hinted at this in what I just said. So I think it comes down to two key reasons. The first one is kind of obvious. It's just this uncertainty about future prices, especially with the new tariff implementation, if that's what you want to call it. As of right now, I know Trump has paused the tariffs for 90 days, I believe, outside of China. So, we'll see what happens, of course. Now, his original plan was that there was going to be a baseline of 10% on all imported goods coming into the United States. And just to be clear, the consumers are going to be the ones paying those prices. So I fully understand the fear and the panic around that. I think there's just so many moving parts that us as everyday consumers are trying to wrap our heads around. And I also think that it's perfectly understandable to actually buy things that you need that might get really expensive in the future. For example, I know somebody who was gonna buy a new car this year. Their old car was very old, it wasn't doing well, and they were planning on buying it in a few months, but they decided to buy it like a few days ago because they were worried about the tariffs. I get that kind of spending, it's strategic. It's not the kind of spending that I'm talking about right now. Because a lot of the spending that we see oftentimes within ourselves or amongst people we know is spending out of fear, not out of necessity. And that actually leads me to my second point, which is uncertainty about the future, period. This is especially true, at least in my opinion, for a lot of younger generations because there's kind of this overall gloom and sense of hopelessness when it comes to financial goals. Owning a home feels out of reach. It feels out of reach to buy a brand new car. It feels out of reach to save for a vacation. And obviously those things are luxuries, but buying a home shouldn't be a luxury. Like, we should all be able to afford a place to live. And what I'm trying to say about this is when you feel like your future is doomed, when you feel hopeless, it makes sense as to why you would want to choose to live in the moment, even if that means that your spending habits aren't what they should be. Now, I am a millennial. I completely understand this fear. There are so many things that I would like to achieve and acquire within my lifetime that I'm also very concerned about. So the first reason that I mentioned is definitely more tied to the economic landscape right now. And the second reason is definitely tied more to this deeper ongoing mindset that many of us are feeling and carrying with us. But with that being said, I do think it's really important for us to be smarter with what we are buying right now, just to make sure that we are avoiding doom spending, which could potentially put us in financial harm. It could also harm our mental health and our emotional state. So with that, let me give you a few pieces of advice that will hopefully help you out if you feel like this is something that you're doing or potentially will do. Now, I know you want to get into the tips, but let me make one thing super duper clear before I do. When I'm talking about doom spending, I am not talking about things that you need or things that you actually use and that serve a rich purpose within your life. Obviously, we all need food, we all need groceries. Some people need a newer vehicle to drive. Some people are starting a new job and they need some new office wear after working remote for a few years. Like, you have to assess your own needs. So this is me not telling you to never buy anything ever again. It's just about being smarter with what you are actually buying and making sure that it's actually going to serve you and basically not put you into any financial ruin. My first piece of advice to you is focus on finding control and planning over panicking. When we hear about things like tariffs or economic shifts, I do think it's a natural reaction to first kind of panic and be like, oh my God, what do I need before things get too expensive? But panicking is putting us in this very just awful reactive state, and reactive shopping never leads to any good decisions. So this is where I think it's important to really shift into planning mode. And planning is also a very action-oriented task or feeling. But the difference is that it is rooted in thoughtfulness instead of fear. I would start by making a list of things that you think you'll need over the next few months or over the next few years. Maybe it's replacing a worn out pair of shoes. Maybe you're looking to get some more seasonal items in your wardrobe. This is a style channel, so I definitely lean a little bit more towards like clothing items, but it could honestly be anything. And then I want you to have a cool down period and revisit the list. I know right now it might be hard to say revisit it in a couple of weeks or months, especially just with how things are going. So even just taking a 24-hour, 48-hour cool off period to return to that list and say, okay, are these things that I actually feel like I need to replace in the future? Or did I just write them down as a result of this fear and this panic and this pressure to buy it now? So shifting that panic feeling to actual planning is going to be such a great way to make you feel more in control without actually spiraling into the doom spending of it all. My next tip for you is to tap into your local community before buying. I think this is such a crucial time for us to tap into our community, tap into our local network, and actually ask for help from people. So I'm talking about things like connecting with your friends and your family and your neighbors, maybe joining your local Buy Nothing group, and just looking towards your community to see if they can offer any help with things that you might need. And I'm mostly talking about tangible items, but this is also about intangible things as well. Maybe you need someone to pick up your groceries for you if you're out of gas, or maybe you need someone to help you move. Like, tap into your local community. I have learned over the years that people are a lot more willing to give than we give them credit for. But when it comes to tangible things, I think it's really important to reach out to your local community to borrow things, honestly. I remember one time I really needed to steam clean my couch, and I really just didn't want to buy a whole steam cleaner. I borrowed one from my neighbor. I've borrowed it a couple times since then. I just make sure it's clean, all good to go when I give it back to them. And I don't have to spend money on a steam cleaner. So maybe you need some garden tools. Maybe you need a wedding guest dress. Like, maybe you need these things that you probably don't need all of the time, and you probably don't need to spend money on it. That is a great opportunity to tap into your local community, connect, give, and receive. When times are feeling really uncertain, when money is really tight, I feel like community is so important, just for the bare minimum to make us feel less isolated. My next piece of advice for you is to grow your memory bank. So while we are working on becoming more intentional shoppers, while we're working on saving money, there is something that you can tap into and actually grow, which is your memory bank. So instead of doom spending on things you probably don't need, it's a great idea to look into free or low cost things within your community, or hobbies you can pick up on, or activities that you can do, which can help grow your memories and your experiences. Something I do every single day when the weather is okay is I take a walk and listen to a podcast. And even if I don't take a walk outside, I get on my treadmill at home and I watch The Sopranos. Like, we all have our priorities. But especially being outside, it makes me feel just more grounded and more free. And it's not the most exhilarating activity, but I really enjoy it. And it's free. You can visit local museums on their Pay What You Wish day. You can get a library card, rent out some books, teach yourself something new. A lot of libraries also offer free or low-cost events in your area, depending on where you live, of course. And another really amazing way to spend your time is to volunteer. Give back to your community. I think that one of the biggest ways that we can make a difference in our spending habits is replacing it with activities like this. I've said this before on my channel, I love to embroider. I've gotten most of my embroidery supplies from a used craft store and from my Buy Nothing group as well. So you can tap into your community and pick up on a new hobby. So I do feel like having these more intentional experiences are not only going to help us save money, but they're also going to help us grow a better relationship with ourselves and our lives, and potentially our community as well. And my last tip for you is to strengthen your relationship with what you already own. Whether it's things like clothes or home decor or makeup or whatever the case may be, chances are you already own things that once gave you the feeling that you're trying to chase. So one of my favorite ways to reframe this is to treat your space like a museum. Walk around and look at what you have. If you're dying to buy some clothes, go into your wardrobe and take some inventory of what you already own. Try some things on. If it's home decor, look around, see what you have. Maybe go in your seasonal decor, look around and be like, I'll bring this out in a few weeks. When it comes to your makeup, look at what you already have. If you have 15 eyeshadow palettes, you probably don't need one more, and you should probably, use what you already own. I really want you to focus on rediscovering things that you once loved and maybe still do love, and you just need to continue to grow the relationship with it. The goal isn't about shaming yourself for wanting more. It's just about reconnecting with what already exists within your life and realizing that you don't need more right now. All right, you guys, I hope this video was helpful for you. If you want to see any other videos on intentional shopping, or you have just any other ideas for video content, let me know in the comments down below and I'll see what I can do. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.